A number of civil society organizations have slammed Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi for remarks he made about the Helen Suzman Foundation. This after the foundation challenged the minister's recent decision not to extend exemptions granted to Zimbabwean nationals. Now, tens of thousands of Zimbabweans have permits that expire in December, which will make them undocumented migrants should they continue to stay in the country. The organizations supporting the foundation say the rights guaranteed in the Constitution must be respected by all. For more now, let's chat to Executive Director at the Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa, Nomzamo Zondo, who joins me virtually from here in Johannesburg. Nomzamo, thank you so much for your time. Going by the statement, obviously it would be wrong of you to comment on the merits of this particular case that the Helen Suzman Foundation has opened in court. But let's see if we can navigate our way around this conversation without having to do so and just look at the facts in front of us. The main issue that you, along with the Freedom Under Law, Section 27, Defend Our Democracy campaign, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation and Corruption Watch have is with the statement that was sent out very publicly by a leading member of the cabinet and the tone that he took in addressing the Helen Suzman Foundation in their decision to go to the courts. And I think that is what has brought you all together. I did look at that statement, and some of it stands out as something that was directed not just at the Helen Suzman Foundation, but at other organizations such and research groups such as yourself. And if I could start by pointing to one of those points made in his statement, saying that there is a disturbing and growing trend by some NGOs to sabotage the polycentric and policy-laden decisions taken by government by using the courts. And this development must be nipped in the bud as soon as possible. That kind of statement from a cabinet minister must have been rather alarming for you and other stakeholders in your sector.
It was very concerning indeed, especially because we didn't expect such a statement, especially in that tone. But most importantly, we don't think that there's any facts to ground such a claim. We're very clear that as civil society, our approach has been to push for the vision that's expressed in the Constitution, that vision is realized. We are the world's most unequal society. It would be very difficult to sit in a situation where, as civil society, we did nothing about that. It is alarming then that the minister falls short of basically accusing us of treason for insisting that the values in the Constitution are upheld.
He goes further to say in the immediate following point that South Africa is now under the dictatorship of some of the NGOs, he says in the statement, with some having faceless and dubious funders. Their ultimate aim is to assist in the dislodgement of government of the day from power by all means available. Those are quite astounding words to come from a minister in such an important department, don't you think?
Exactly, especially because of the context of the conversation. Here we are talking about migrants from a neighboring country, a country that we've had a long relationship with both governments being aware of what's happening politically. For him to come out and attack not only the Helen Suzman Foundation, but civil society more generally, I think is actually unacceptable. I think the word that I'll use is unacceptable. And I think my concern is also that he didn't choose his words. I feel as if that it's very, if you look at the tone of the press statement, it really, it does not feel like we're hearing this from a minister of this government, a minister of this country, a country that is grounded upon the foundation of the rule of law, that is grounded upon human dignity. That when people raise issues that will affect the lives, as you said, tens of thousands, but at least 200,000 people, that's the response that you get, a scathing and almost poisonous response from the minister.
Now, early in the statement, the minister says he's had interactions with the Helen Suzman Foundation and other NGOs in the past, and then almost alludes to what it seems to be saying that the HSF went behind his back to surprise him with a court case or a move in the courts that he wasn't expecting. What have you heard as NGOs in the sector about what's led to him releasing a statement like this? Was he slightly touched by the fact that the HSF went to the court, which is their right, to do so? Did he want personal interaction first? What have you been able to make of this statement by the minister?
Unfortunately, we haven't been able to make sense of why he would issue such a statement. And I think that in other contexts, the experience, at least at a level of one-on-one, has been similar, especially on the issue around migrants. And it's quite concerning because I think if we look at our current political context, xenophobia is one of the key concerns that we deal with. We've seen deaths that have come and maybe we can say affecting migrant communities and sometimes affecting citizens. And we've seen violence. And in this moment, it would have been, I feel like it was necessary for government to actually be the one that's calling for calm. But when you look at this statement, it actually calls for more fire. And I think Seri has previously called out political parties, politicians who are clearly using the issue of migrants as voting fodder. They see it as a way of gathering votes. And unfortunately, in what we've seen in the last almost a year, both with the Ministry of Home Affairs and also with the Ministry of Police, there is almost a feeling that they actually stand with organizations like Operation Dudula. And this kind of, I feel like, again, the way that he's approached a legal process, right? The Helen Suzman Foundation has not made a declaration. They've gone to a court and they've said to a court, we feel that this decision needs to be reviewed. There is an opportunity for the minister who claims that his decision is justified, it's rational, it's lawful, to actually just simply engage with the Helen Suzman Foundation in the courts and show that his decision is rational. But instead, he's chosen to attack them and also almost at the same time, kind of tell other civil society organizations that I'm coming for you.
Yeah, that's very clear in the wording in the statement, that it's aimed at the Helen Suzman Foundation, but it includes others in that sector as well. One also can't deny that there must be a sense of urgency around this specific matter, because we're talking about people's visas running out in December. We are now just starting in July, and we all know these kinds of things do take time. So that can't be held against the Helen Suzman Foundation either, because you're playing with people's lives there, many of whom have built their lives with their families here for more than a decade already. What are you expecting will happen next?
Look, we don't know. We hope that people, one on the side of government and within cabinet, will engage with the minister about his approach and about the dangers of attacking civil society firstly. But I would say also the tone of the message also brings into question the legitimacy of the judiciary. Because if he trusted the courts, then he would then say, actually, don't worry, it's going to be game over. This is going to be a very short journey for the Helen Suzman Foundation. But he's, again, almost calling into question the legitimacy of the judiciary. And if at the very least he was called upon to actually say, you must reconsider your approach, this is not the way to engage with people who are in effect dealing with he uses the word spurious in the statement. And you said, how can this litigation be spurious? There are going to be so many lives that are going to be affected. There are going to be children who will be displaced. There's a possibility of people losing jobs. The Ministry of Home Affairs is infamous for the fact that it struggles with processing applications, especially applications for migrants. What does that mean if it now calls for itself at 200,000, let's say, as he said, invite everyone to say, come and apply. And hopefully by December, you'll be sorted. What does it mean for those lives? What does it mean for the companies? How will this affect the economy? Because these people are currently engaged in the economy in this moment. But for us, one of the fears, I think, for people who are looking at what this says about the relationship between South Africa and the rest of the SADC region, is quite worrying.
Yeah, indeed.
Because it says, one, the LSP today, it could be the LSP tomorrow.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this evening and your insight. That's Nomzamo Zondo joining us from here in Johannesburg. She's the Executive Director at the Socioeconomic Rights Institute of South Africa. We thank her for her time this evening.